We are still at the beginning, just the beginning of chapter 19 of Parshat Vayera, the story of the journey into the depth of depravity. No other word for it, really. An archetype for many other scenarios of a society run amok. And the fact that Lot is the magistrate, and according to Rashi, based on Chazal, he was actually appointed that very day, tells us something about what this place was up to, that they understood, perhaps, that Lot had some kind of connection to the world of morality and spirituality. I say this because right at the beginning, the parallels between what happens in chapter 19 and what had happened in chapter 18, Perek Yudchet, are aplenty. Guests arriving, the person greeting them, welcoming them into the home, preparing food items for them. And indeed, as many of the Mefarshei HaMikra point out, Lot learned this notion of hospitality from his uncle. But something else, the very fact that he's sitting at the gate, we have many examples throughout Tanakh, and people sitting at the gate are generally seated there for the purpose of performing the functions of meting out justice. And parsing the society for its moral layer and trying to hold it to its to moral accountability. And Lot practically does none of those things. He's just a guy in a seat. We'll see this, of course. We see this on the level of Pshat. We don't have to look at Midrashim to appreciate this idea. We see it immediately when he brings the guests to his home. So first layer, let's just learn through the level of Pshat before we get to Rashi's understanding and the Ramban's understanding and the Radak's understanding. Let's start first on the surface level to understand what's transpiring. To remind you from last we learned, which is a good few weeks ago, and it's nice to see so many of you back joining together for us to be able to learn together again. Recall that the negotiation between Avraham Avinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu that precedes this part of the story is really just a seamless transition from that part to this part. And according to some of the Mefarshim, it's actually happening concurrently. Others say no, the negotiation had ended, finished. Now the angels are coming to mete out the sentence. But you have both of those within the world of the commentators. There's no paragraph break. There's no tab space, no 9 characters of Parsha Stuma. It's literally from the end of chapter 18 to the beginning of chapter 19, just flows seamlessly from one pasuk to the next. Right? Vayelech Hashem kasher kilal daber el Avraham. That's verse 33 in chapter 18. Vayelech Hashem kasher kilal daber el Avraham, va'Avraham shav limkomo. Vayavo shnei malachim Sedoma ba'erev velot yoshev b'shar Sdom vayar Lot vayakom likratam vayishtachu apayim arza. Just on the level of Pshat, what time of day is it now when they arrive? It's even time in the erev, a time of day that is murky, as opposed to Avraham Avinu. Do you remember what tells us the time of day when the angels come to his home? Remember? Kichom hayom, by the heat of the day. There's a time lag between that and this. I would say just on the level of Pshat, there is a differentiated mood between the angels coming in the noonday sun and the angels arriving sort of at a time when it's not exactly clear. With day or it's night. And there's, I believe, another layer, not the level of Pshat, but the symbolic level. There's something going on here as well. You could say, well, no, it took them 6 hours to walk. It didn't take them 6 hours to walk. They're malachim. They go from place to place very quickly because actually they're not physical. Some of the Mefarshim point out, the Seforno points this out, that they arrive in a hop, skip, and a jump. Davka, the idea here that they came to Sdom, they waited to come to the evening. Why? 6 hours negotiation between Avraham and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Alternatively, even if it is happening concurrently, the idea that Dafka, the right time for them to arrive, is under the cover of darkness because they're coming to a dark place, etc. Insert Lahavdal Fe'avdalit, your literary tools right here, just to, you can feel it, right? Lot is sitting there, he sees them, and it's the same idea. If you look at chapter 18, Avraham sees them, Lot sees them, right? He gets up to greet them. That's Lot gets up to greet them. Avraham Avinu, vayaratz likratam, he runs to greet them. We have an idea here about the contrast of the clock speed, right? The music over there, fast, alacrity, verve, excitement, mitzvah opportunity. Lot, he's polite, he's courteous, solicitous, etc. Vayar Lot, vayakum likratam, vayishtachwa paim arza, bows to them. Vayomer, hinei na Adonai suru na el beit avdechem, v'linu v'rachatzu ragleichem, v'ishkamtem v'alachtem l'darkechem, vayomru lo ki varachov nalin. I'll just stay on the level of pshat. I won't talk about Rashi or anything else, just level of pshat. I know I broke my word a minute ago because I quoted this Sforno, but I was totally in line with pshat. He invites them to be in his home. And what do they say? We prefer to sleep in the street, which is a strange thing for wayfarers to prefer. But obviously there was a point. Vayiftzar bam me'od, vayasuru elav. He impresses it upon them. He pushes them hard. Come to my house. Vayasuru elav. So he has that element of hachnasarachim. Vayavo beito, vayas lahem mishteh umatzot afa vayochelu. He makes a feast for them without getting into Rashi, without getting to Midrashim. The level of pshat. Avraham Avinu tells Sari Menu, let's make ugot, cakes, and Lot serves them flatbreads. They get matzahs. Not Rashi, not Midrash, just the level of pshat. Now, terem yishkavu, before they go to sleep, because it's nighttime. The anshe ha'ir, anshe sdom nasabu al habayit, minar va'ad zaken, kol ha'am mikatzeh. It's a community happening that guests have arrived. But of course, not in a positive sense. There is a convergence upon the house by everyone, young and old. The young are not innocent, and the old have not gained wisdom. They come together from a moral perspective, I mean, right? Instead, they converge on the house. Why? Pasuk Hey tells us, Vayikru el Lot, vayomru lo, ayeh ha'anashim asher ba'u elecha halayla, hotzi'em eleinu v'neida'a otam. They call out to Lot, where are the people who came to you tonight, this night? Same night, darkness. Hotzi'em eleinu, take them out to us. We want to get to know them. Even on the level of pshat, that we want to get to know them is not meant in a friendly, happy-go-lucky way. It speaks about violation. And of course, v'nei da'a otam, the only other reference that I believe we have in the Torah to this point of the notion of vayeda, and as a verb, to know someone, is in the biblical carnal sense of it. And you have in chapter 4 of Sefer Breisheet, Adam yada et chava ishto. There's the Eitz Hadat over. I'm saying in terms of the verb, to know someone. That's what it means. And the Torah uses euphemistic language. But that's what they meant. Vayetze alehem lo tapetcha ve'adelat sagara charav. He goes out to the doorway. He closes the door behind him. So we're getting the story frame by frame. Now he went outside. Now he's talking to them. Vayomar al na'achai tareu. Please, my brothers, with whom I have a kinship, with whom we have so much in common. After all, we're good neighbors, etc. Don't do something wicked now. Let's behave. Let's do it nicely. Yeah, let's behave. He calls out to them as brethren. He sees them as in some way kin, or at least in terms of identification, and that should give us pause. And then following on that, of course, the idea that the most he can muster is not the voice of authority. I am the judge, I am the magistrate, but he is using language that attempts to be collaborative. Yeah, don't do this. He didn't say to them, it's wrong. He didn't tell them you're disgusting people. He didn't, right? So just in that, the response itself, no doubt facing the converged mob, the converging mob, I should say, and the mob that is roiling with and seething with rage and they want to have their way with these two guests. So Lot does not have much of a moral case that he makes. Doesn't invoke God's name, doesn't invoke justice. He doesn't say this would be wrong. He knows how it goes in Sdom, and when in Sdom, do as the people of Sdom. But his resistance itself, just in this little pasuk, I think is already a pallid shadow of an Avraham Avinu who is calling out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and negotiating. But the next pasuk is really, really staggering, just on the level of pshat, I think, and is where we go from weakness to perversity, I guess, some kind of moral turpitude. Hinena li shtei vanot asher lo yadu ish otzia na eten alechem v'asu lahen katov be'enechem rak la'anashim ha'el al tasu davar ki al kain ba'u b'tzel korati. So he sat through the lesson with Avraham Avinu, the important lesson about achnasat orchim. He internalized that message: take care of your guests, cannot let anything bad happen to them. But apparently he was missing on the day when Avraham Avinu spoke about some basic issues in, I don't know, not giving away your daughters to the angry mob. It's staggering, yeah? It's staggering. So I'm not even sure year over year when I come to it in Parshat Vayera, what the logic of an Avraham Avinu, what the logic of a Lot, the nephew of Avraham Avinu, might be here. He's protecting the guests, but at the cost of his own children. The best he could do. Was it a ploy? Was he trying to buy time? Said, I'll send my daughters out. Replacement. It's not clear from the pshat, but just on the level of pshat, there's something wrong with the moral compass. Yeah. It's not that the action itself is wicked, not that the mob is completely, to put it charitably, completely over the line. It's an insanity. Instead, it's somehow about the calculus of some kind of lifeboat ethics where the residents, who happen to be his own daughters, are just lower on the totem pole than his actual guests, who, of course, sheltered within his home. After all, they wanted to sleep in the street. He told them, no, come in my house. He's really taken it upon himself to be their protector. Notwithstanding the fact that the parsha, this section rather, chapter 19, began by telling us two angels came to Sdom, it seems clear, it should be clear, I think, that Lot is unaware that they are angels. I mean, otherwise, why is he protecting them? Why don't he just say to them, there's an angry mob outside, you're angels, why don't you take care of this? But no, he sees them as vulnerable and wants to protect them, somehow on the account of his own daughters. Vayomru gesh hala, vayomru ha'echad balagur vayishpot shafot, ata nara lecha mehem. So what is this? The mob turns on him because they see him as a feckless defender of rights. He's not doing anything, right? It was a callow response. He said, take my daughters, but not my guests. So come over here. This one has come to live among us. And here we learn, just on the level of pshat, in case the fact he was sitting at the gate wasn't enough, here came one to live among us to judge us. In this last short period of time in world history, there's the, whatever you want to call it, development of language, abuse of language, where people have this expression, they say, don't be judgy. You can figure out what it means. Yeah, it used to be don't be judgmental. Now it's don't be judgy. Okay. It's for the younger folk. I'm already in the older folk for this kind of thing. Lot is here judging us. Now, the reason is because he sat at the gate, because he was appointed to be the magistrate. It seems patently obvious, but it could also be, now you have a Dvar Torah for Parshat Shmot as well. Remember what happens when Moshe Rabbeinu, on day 2 of his career, goes out to find two men quarreling with each other? their retort to him, they pause as they're at loggerheads with each other with enough time to turn to him and say, who made you the judge? Are you going to judge us? Yeah. Are you going to kill us too? But it's the same kind of language of sort of challenging whether or not someone actually has the right to be making moral claims against others. Now, what's staggering is Lot didn't do that. Lot couldn't get anything together over here. He's offering his daughters. It's not like he told the people, you know, what you did is terrible. But their interpretation of it is, it's terrible. It's wicked. In other words, in their perverse morality, his way of seeing it is itself anathema. Yeah, and they want to punish him for having the temerity to stand up and claim that what they are doing is unacceptable, right? And they want to let him have it. They want to go after him, right? So it's the same kind of language. If you happen to have a full Tanakh in front of you, you can turn to the book of Shmot, chapter 2, verse 14. You'll see there, that's the pasuk in question. Right? So, or maybe let me actually put it up on the screen. That might be even more helpful. Let me see if I could do that. If I still remember how to do that from way back when. Give me a sec. Here. Vayomer mi samcha leish sar v'shofet aleinu. Who made you the minister and the judge upon us? Are you going to kill us as you have killed the Egyptian, et cetera, right? So that's what happens with Lot. They tell him, who made you the judge? We didn't appoint you. They did appoint him, but now they're upset. By the by, they refer to him as an individual who has come to live among us. You're not really one of us. You're an immigrant and an interloper, a greenhorn, and you don't belong. All right. And so vayiftzuru va'ish belot me'od vayikshu lishbor hadalet. They make they stress press their claim rather against Lot, and they come to try to break down the door. Right? Meaning they're coming toward the door to break it down. It's interesting also that there is a parallel just in the language. Vayiftzuru va'ish belot me'od means that they were attacking him. Right? They were coming after him. They were pursuing him. And it's the same language that Lot himself used on verse 3. Vayiftzar bam me'od. It's about being forceful. He was forceful with the angels to bring them to the house. Now these people are being forceful to try to attack him. They are approaching the door in order to break it down. Pasuk Yud. Vayishlechu ha'anashim. Notice that they became people again. Et yadam. Vayaviu et Lot aleihem abayte vet hadelet sagaru. So the people stretched out their hands, and they brought Lot towards them into the house. Just on the level of pshat, notice that it doesn't specify who these people are. It doesn't tell us, and the people in the house opened the door, and they grabbed Lot and brought him inside. It says, the people stretched out their hands and brought him inside. By the time you've read the pasuk already, it happened. Follow? Just in terms of the syntax of how it goes. It is not the case that it went, the people opened the door from inside and they took him in and then they closed the door. It says the people stretched out their hands. What's it skipping? That they opened the door, obviously, to get him, because it says that he closed the door behind him. So he's standing with his back to the door. They opened the door and brought him in. Right? I'm making a big deal about this because I'm interested always in the, what's the word? The music, the clock speed, how things are being communicated, what the clock speed, when I say clock speed, of course, I mean, what's the pacing of what's being described? What parts are being left out? And here we have the malachim are called anashim, or is it that the people in the house, whoever they are, came and brought him in the house? Not clear. And then vayet hanashim asher petach habayit hiku basan veirim mekaton va'ad gadol vayilu limtso hapatach. The people who are in the doorway were hit with blindness, and from the small to the great, and they were unable to find. They grew weary of finding the house, the door. They were confused. They were thrown into a tumult. That's the pshat. Now, note verse 10 said it was anashim. Verse 11, the Anashim were the Anashim outside, the people outside. It said that they were hit. It didn't say who hit them with blindness. Presumably it's a miracle. That's what happened. And in verse 12, the Anashim are the people inside the house. And they're not any Anashim, but actually, who are they? They are the two Malachim who were called Malachim earlier. Why did it switch to suddenly call them Anashim? From Malachim, they became Anashim. Why? Vayomru Anashim elot, od mi lecha fo. Who else is with you here in the house? Chatan uvanech uvanotev v'chol lecha ba'ir hotzei min hamakom. Take everyone out of here. You cannot stay. You take them out of here. Who is it? Who else is here? Your son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, right? Who is here? Take them out with you as you go. So they were asking, this is a question, and asking him to give them the number of people. They don't seem to know. Pasuk Yud Gimel. Ki mashchitim anachnu et hamakom hazeh, for we are going to destroy this place. Ki gadlat sakatam et pnei Hashem, because the cry has is so great, has reached the presence of God, the countenance of Hashem. Vayishalchenu Hashem l'shachata. God sent us to destroy it. Level of pshat. They're communicating to Lot that the end is near. It's the middle of the night, and he explains this. They are explaining this to Lot and asking him to figure out who else is in the house. But this next part is even stranger. Pasuk Yud Daled. Vayetze Lot vayidaber el chotanav. Where did he go out to? What does vayetze mean? Out of the house? Vayetze Lot vayidaber el chotanav lokchei v'notav. He spoke to his sons-in-law who were married to his daughters. I mean, that seems to be the pshat. Rashi disagrees with what I'm saying, but okay. Vayomer kumu tzeu min hamakom hazeh. And Lot said to his sons-in-law who had taken his daughters, married to his daughters, and he said to them, kumu tzeu min hamakom hazeh, get out of this place. Ki mashchit Hashem et ha'ir, because God will destroy this place. So in other words, even though Lot cannot save the city of Sodom, nor does he make any attempt to do so. I mean, they're in the middle of trying to harm him and his family, but they are delayed because they are blinded. He goes out. Does he go out of the house? It's usually what the word vayetze means. So there are two daughters who are married, who live with these sons-in-law, and he goes to find them, and he tells them this. And the most chilling four words for me, the whole parsha, Vayi chimetzachek be'enei chotanav. They thought he was joking. They didn't take him seriously. They mocked him. When he told them that it's about to happen, they simply did not believe that he was telling them something truthful, because they didn't believe it could ever be destroyed, because they didn't believe in God, because they believed in God and believed that it was possible, but they didn't believe that Lot could possibly have any information about it. Doesn't tell us which it is, but it could be any of those possibilities. It was almost the time for daybreak. And the Malachim have to press Lot. They're pushing him. They're sort of stressing to him now how crucial it is that he go. Kum kach et ishtecha ve'et shnei v'notecha nimtzaot. Penti safeh ba'avon ha'ir. Arise, take your wife, and take your two daughters who are found here. Which two daughters? The two daughters who live in the house. As opposed to, just on the level of pshat, the two daughters who don't live in the house, who are married. From here we get this idea that we have Lot and his wife and two daughters in the house, and then he's got two other daughters who are married to two men. We're up to 8. So the idea, mentioned it before, that when you had Noach and his 3 sons and their wives, plus Noach and Mrs. Noach, so they didn't reach the number either. Same thing's going on here. And of course, I think someone pointed this out. I'm pretty positive. Michelle, Karen, the parallels are aplenty with the story of Noach and the story of Lot. Noach's destruction of the world by water, Lot's destruction of his world by fire. Noach does not successfully convince his generation to repent. Lot doesn't successfully convince his generation to repent. Noach is replaced in a certain way by Avraham Avinu. Lot is replaced by Avraham Avinu, or does not replace Avraham Avinu. The world is built out of Noach's children. The B'nai Noach refers to any human being after in the post-Diluvian world. Lot's two daughters, as we know, the episode that's coming, on the face of it, dastardly episode, but the net result, according to our tradition, is the birth of Mashiach Tzidkenu, arises from this strange union that attempts to save the world or rebuild the world as they thought about it. Many, many parallels, right? Lot is never called a tzaddik. He's the cracked mirror edition of Avram Avinu in so many ways. And here we find that the numbers, here's the count. You should go out now, take these people, lest you be caught up in the Avo and Ha'ir. Here they don't build a teva, but they run away, right? Pasuk Tet Zayin, Vayit Mama. Just on the level of Pshat, it means he tarried. He was waiting. He was delaying. Vayachziku ha'anashim biyado, uviyad ishto, uviyad shtei v'notav, b'chemot Hashem alav. These people, which people? The Malachim. What do? They grabbed his hand. They took the hand of his wife. They took the hands of the two daughters. Now, does it literally mean he took them by the hand? How many hands did they have? But the point, you get the story. They had to force them to get out of there because Hashem had pity upon him. B'chemlat Hashem alav. Vayotziu, vayanichuhu michutz la'ir. And they took him out and they placed him outside of the city. For those who know their Midrashim from Parshat Noach, you might recall that it had to be raining already for Noach to get into the Teva, and that the water basically pushes him into the Teva. He's ambivalent about getting into the Teva. Lot, ambivalent about leaving. Vayihi kehotziam otam hachutza v'yomer himalet al nafshecha al tabit acharecha v'al tamor b'chol hakikar ha'ara himalet penti safeh. Remember what his name is? This man who is escaping? His name is Escape. That's his name. He's Escape. Now, why is he called Escape? Well, originally he was called Escape because his father, Haran, according to the Medrash, was incinerated in a fire, and Lot escapes. He survives. He's taken up by his uncle to be an adopted son. And now the Malachim tell him as soon as they go outside, what do the Malachim say? Himalet al nafshecha, live up to your name, escape. Don't look back. Don't stand in the square, in the town square. Rather, hahara himalet, pentisafeh, run up to the mountain, lest you be caught up with them. Vayomer Lot, alehem al na Adonai. Please don't do this. This is right here. This is his ability to, his attempt to negotiate as he's on the way out of town. And that's also parallel with Avram Avinu, no? I can't run away because I'm worried I'm going to be engulfed by the inferno. You've done kindnesses for me. I will not be able to escape there. Lest I be caught up by the wickedness. Now, does he mean that I'll be caught up by the wickedness, meaning I'm just going to get stuck in the raging inferno? Does he mean I will fall in wickedness myself? Does he mean that wicked people will find him? Again, not entirely clear. Hinena ha'ir hazot krova lanu shama v'hi mitzar, imalata na shama halo mitzar hi utechi nafshi. This town, Mitzar, which may be spared, at least temporarily, he says, I want to go to a city. He's afraid of going up to the mountains. presume on the level of pshat, there are a lot of different ideas, but on a level of pshat, he wants to just stay in a city, dwell in a cityscape. He doesn't want to go out to be out in the sticks just for survival. He'll be with the people. Vayomer elav hinei nasati fanecha gam davar hazeh levilti hofki et ha'ir asher dibarta. So here the angel seems to answer that they will give him some kind of reprieve and will not overturn this city, the city of Mitzar. Mitzar, likely a cognate of Tsoar, like the same town. So he's going to go there. And we see that from what's coming up next. Now, Maher Himalait Shama, again, hurry, don't tarry, and escape there. Same word, Lot Himalait. Ki lo uchal lasot davar ad bo achashama, for I cannot do anything until you get there. Al kain karashe ma'ir tsoar. And somehow bizarre, but that's why it was called Tsoar. It's very strange. We'll have to come back. Won't do it this time, but what's the etymology of Tsoar and Tsa'ar and what's going on here? But Hashemesh yatsa ala aretz, now the sun rises. Velot bat Tsoara. I'd like to point out, in case you thought that before, I was just drawing some kind of like nice portrait comparing the sun is shining for Avraham Avinu, and it is a dour nightfall and dusk at the moment that the angels come to Sodom. So do you think it's accidental that again it pointed out, again the Torah wants you to know, oh, the sun is coming out? Well, you know, like the position of what's light and dark. It's coming out, the sun is rising and Lot is coming to Tzoar. So at dawn, at sunrise, there's a symbolic level of this, yeah, of what it reflects. Vashem himtir al Sdom, ve'al Amorah gofrit va'esh me'et Hashem min hashamayim. Here came all of the fire and brimstone that fell down upon Sdom and Amorah, the two of the largest of the five cities. It came from God, from heaven. Vayafoch ha'arim ha'el, ve'et kol ha'kikar, ve'et kol yoshvei ha'arim, ve'tzemach ha'adama. This overturned the cities, these cities, and the whole area, the plain, all of the people who dwelt in these cities, and even the vegetation. That's how it is till today. Anyone who's ever gone to Sdom, to that area, you see what it looks like. It's a scar on Eretz Yisrael, scorched. But she looks back, and she turns into a pillar of salt, as everybody knows. And within the same pasuk, after she turns into salt, again, it's not a separate paragraph, it's the next pasuk. It's one long parsha. Vayashkem Avram baboker el hamakom asher amad sham et pnei Hashem. Avram goes back to the same place where he stood in front of God the previous day. So he's come back around the next day to the same place. Vayashkef al pnei Sdom va'amorah v'al pnei kol pnei eretz hakikar vayar v'nei Allah kitor haaretz kekitor hakivshan. What does Avram see when he wakes up in the morning? He's looking down, both senses of it, upon Sdom and Amorah, and he can see the smoke rising like a pillar of a cloud emerging from a fiery furnace. Does this remind you of any earlier story that you know? Avraham, when Avram sees standing there at sunrise, Avram is in the area of Har Chevron. He's looking to the south, it would be south-southeast. The sun is in the eastern sky, and there's a conflagration down below, way below sea level. You can see it, of Sdom, Amorah, etc. And there is a large pillar of smoke that's rising up. This reminds you of an earlier story that you might know. Did I prevent everybody from unmuting themselves? Is that what's going on here? I hope not. No. You can unmute yourselves. Anyone want to suggest?
Wasn't Avraham also in a furnace?
Yes. Yes. He's in the story that the Medrash calls the Kivshan Ha'esh, the fiery furnace. Now, his brother, Haran, is incinerated in it. and his nephew Lot is saved from it. How? Avram is his adoptive father. Fast forward all these years later, Avram Avinu is looking at another fiery furnace. Who got out? Lot. But the parallel certainly is there. You could argue against me, yeah, but Rabbi, the story of the Kishon Eish is not in the Torah Shebichtav, it's not written in the written Torah. And I tell you, okay, you did score a point, but still, I think there's a lot going on here when we look at the idea that Avram Avinu now, it's again the same things. And that's if you look at the next pasuk.
Rabbi,
yeah,
I think the parallel is more with the fight with the kings when Lot gets kidnapped. How come he goes out to try to see what's going on with Lot and to save him then, and he doesn't go to Lot here, nor does Lot, who knows where he is, go with his daughters up to try to find Avraham? To me, that's the most bizarre thing.
Right. So look at the next pasuk. Look at the next pasuk. All right. That's next pasuk, Chavtet, 29. The last pasuk we'll see today. Then I will have a little discussion exactly on your point. Vayhi b'shachet Elohim et arei hakikar, vayizkor Elohim et Avraham, vayishalach et Lot mitoch ha'hafecha, ba'afoch et ha'arim, asher yashav bahen Lot. So it was, as God was destroying the cities of this plain, he remembered Avraham. Doesn't mean in the intellectual, cognitive sense of memory, yeah? The word here, Vayizkor Elokim, we have it also in Parshat Shmot. God's remembrance means God's compassion, God's mercy, God's attention to. So Vayizkor Elokim at Avraham. It's true with the Akarot, with Sarah Imenu, Vashem Pakat. It's Sarah, remembered Sarah, remembered her intellectually. He had forgotten her. That's not what it means. And by the way, that's what Yizkor is also. Yizkor is not that God should remember, because otherwise there won't be, it'll be forgotten. And God should remember, but have care in the remembrance. So in that, God remembered Avram, and it tells us basically that's why Lot was sent away from out of the fire of the conflagration when God overturned the cities where Lot had dwelt. Here in this pasuk, and this is why I wanted to get this far. We have the brackets. Avraham Avinu standing praying for all the people of Sodom, inclusive of Lot, but of the people of the 5 cities. And on the other side, it's, by the way, the next morning when Avraham Avinu woke up in the morning and he went to the same spot and he's standing there and he's looking out and he sees the fiery furnace in his merit, by his very being of who he was, in his merit was Lot saved. Now, you have to realize, it doesn't mean, and I don't think it means, that only now, once the destruction happened, now Hashem thought, so to speak, I'm going to save Lot. The point is, I've been pointed out many times, and we had examples abound, there's an element of concurrence here. All the things you just read about the Malachim came and they took Lot and they saved him and they went into his house and they told him, we're going to save you. And why did all of that happen? Now we find out why. It was all in the merit of Avram Avinu. That's why the 2 angels came to his house. Otherwise, what were the angels going to do? We'll sleep in the street. They weren't going to sleep, destroy the whole place. But since, now watch this logic, just on the level of Pshat. Since Lot learned things in the home of Avram Avinu, such as Hachnasat Orchim, and he did a chesed for these 2 malachim, he maybe sort of a little bit might have eked out some kind of merit for himself. But what does he do then? He tells the people outside, not you're wicked, you're evil, you're depraved, I'm not playing your game. There are angels here to destroy the place, etc. You could argue he didn't maybe know that part. Instead, hold on a second. Let's not harm these guests. They're fine people, but I have these 2 wretched daughters. Let me give them to you. Have your way with them. Mob that I bow to. Now we find out, no. In the end, why Lot was saved? He's saved because of Avram Avinu. Now, where's Avram Avinu standing? Remember? He's up top. I made a big simus about this. He's up top in the Har Chevron area. He's topographically high up. He's in the mountains. He's in the mountain range. And he's looking down in both senses, physically and morally. I don't mean in the condescending manner, but in the manner of he's so much higher than them on all levels. And where does Lot absolutely positively not want to run? Because he's worried he's going to be looking terrible. To Shelley, to your point, wouldn't it make sense to say, I'm going home to Avraham Avinu? Avraham, sorry, I know you're so hospitable. Can I bunk over with you? Save me. My uncle who saved me in chapter 14. Remember? After we had parted company, you saved me once, Avraham, right? Did Lot realize that it was in the merit of his uncle that he was being saved? Doesn't tell us. But what we do find out is he has a mortal fear of going up to the mountains, because if he goes up to the mountain that is Har Chevron and he confronts the mountain that is Avram Avinu, he's not only a nobody, but maybe he's not even worthy of remaining alive. And here we have another parallel, by the by, with Noah. Remember, is Noah objectively, absolutely the greatest tzaddik of the world? This is not me. This is the Gemara asks this, and Rashi quotes it, right? Tzaddik hayah bedorotav, in his generation. In his generation, he made it. He would have been, if he lived in any other generation, he would have been even greater. Or, no, it was all relative to the people, the wretched people, the time period of Noah. He's a big tzaddik. Had he lived in the time of Avraham Avinu, he would have been much less, maybe zero. Lot doesn't want to go to the mountains because in the mountains, he has to confront Avram Avinu and his righteousness. He doesn't want to go. And just on the level of Pshat, without getting to any midrashim, without going into any of the inner layers, we'll have to see next week, God willing, you can see the ways in which the Lot as the cracked mirror of Avram Avinu. He's got a chesed orchim. He knows something about justice, but it's a strange justice. His assertion of moral courage seems to be more on the feckless side and also somehow inverted, that he's giving away his daughters and he doesn't really want to leave. Even he's being told by Malachim it's going to be destroyed. He can't convince anybody, not even his own sons-in-law. And the same image, but here we see it's almost like a repair of the Kivshana Eish story. What's Avram Avinu no doubt always tummeling about? He was saved from the fiery furnace, but who was not saved from the fiery furnace? His own brother. But he did save Lot. And now again, he saved Lot. He saved Lot from a fiery furnace. That was what became of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, that's actually all we have time for today. There's actually obviously much, much more to do. Next week, my plan, God willing, is to actually learn this through with Mefarshei Mikra to see the deeper layers of it. And with that, also to try to come back to this question of, okay, who are these two malachim? Like, they're malachei HaKadosh Baruch, we got it, they're emissaries, but they're angels. How are they angels, and in what ways are they maybe different than what we would have expected angels to be doing? And how does that impact our understanding of the story itself as well? Ad Kan for today.